Hi, hello. Welcome back to Sheila Bobby Handmade. My name is Caitlin. It's known just about everywhere on the internet as Sheila Bobby, and this is not a podcast. This is a little bit different than I normally do, but I wanted to record kind of a walkthrough of Ravelry. The reason why is that a lot of my local friends are doing the summer stock camp and maybe aren't super familiar with some of the functionalities inside of Ravelry. And so I figured recording a quick video and maybe sharing that with other people would be helpful as well. So not just sharing it to my local group and being able to share it with everyone who may needs a little bit assistance with Ravelry because Ravelry is a little bit confusing. So this may help you utilize Ravelry to maybe a little bit better use than it currently is. This is not going to be a full walkthrough of Ravelry. It's going to be mostly the basics of how to get started, how to create a project, how to post on a form, um, that sort of thing. So kind of the basics to be able to post for summer stock camp. I do not use all of the functionalities on Ravelry, and so you'll hear me say this is available, but I don't use it. But it is there, and so if needed, I could learn how to use those and record the videos for you. If you are interested, just let me know, and we'll go from there. So I have two different screens to share with you, and I'm going to try and flip back and forth between the two that make when it makes sense, because I know that we live in a mobile world. The world that the world that you're seeing right now. No, the screen that you're seeing right now is a desktop view. So this is on my desktop browser, and then this is how it should look on mobile. Now, this is how it would look if you pull up the website on your mobile browser. I know that there is an app called, I think, Ravit, that is out there, and it may look a little bit different, but at least you'll have the basics of like what it should do and look like, but it will not match up directly with Ravit. So I'm sorry, this video will not help you with that app, but it will help you with the mobile version of Ravelry. So let's get started right away and jump in. So what you're seeing is the login page, and so you'll go to Ravelry.com to do that. That link is down below if you are just getting started, and you'll want to click the sign up button. If you do not already have an account, if you have an account, then we'll log in. You'll skip this bit. So if you do not already have an account, you'll want to create one, and so you will want to click the sign up button, and that will bring you to a screen to put in your email address. You'll want to make sure that this is a valid email address that you will receive all of your emails related to Ravelry to, and you need this link that is going to be sent to you to create your account. It's going to confirm that that's your email address. Once you have that email, you're going to click it and it will bring you to a screen where you will insert your name, your username, and a password. Make sure that password is secure because you do not want anybody getting in your account. So once you do that, then you'll be ready to sign in. So you're going to see these little red squares on some of my forms. This is a application that I use on my computer to help me remember passwords because I work on a computer and I am in software and things like that. So I have a lot of secure passwords and it would take me way too long to type all of those in. So I typically just use that application to remember the passwords for me. So you'll insert your username and password and then click the login button. I'm going to click on the refresh and it should, there we go, bring me into Ravelry. So this is how it should look on your mobile, and this is how it should look on your desktop. The only difference that you may notice right off the bat is that your screen color may be different. I use dark mode because it is much more pleasant to the eyes than any of the other options. But if you do want to use dark mode and it's not showing, or you do not want dark mode and you want a light mode, then the first thing you'll want to do is get that sorted because you need to have a pleasant browsing experience when on Ravelry because Ravelry can get a little complicated. So you're going to want to hover over, if you're on desktop, you'll hover over this top square. In my case, this is my picture, but you'll have a mode option and you can see dark mode is selected. And then there's two other options. This is light mode, which is blinding to the eyes. There's this low contrast mode, which just changes those brighter yellows, dulls them down a little bit. And then there's dark mode. I'm going to stick with dark mode for this video, but please feel free to use whatever mode is most comfortable for you. The same thing in mobile, you'll just have to click your avatar picture in the top right corner, and then you have those mode settings down here to change them. So now that our eyes are adjusted to whatever preference we have for our viewing, we are ready to learn a little bit about Ravelry itself. The first thing you want to do is, I don't know, maybe put some information in, change your picture, make it a little bit personal. And you'll do that by hovering or clicking on your avatar in the top right corner and selecting profile. This is where you will set your information. You'll click on the edit profile right here. On mobile, that information is in the exact same spot, except you'll have to click on profile here after clicking on the avatar, and then you have the edit profile button here. You can put in as much information or as little information as you would like. This also allows you to have a little bit more privacy by selecting if you want people to know you're online or not. All of that information can be edited and updated here. I have my YouTube channel linked, that sort of thing. So it is ready to go. After you have done that, you are ready to start adding a project in your Ravelry account. So if you haven't done that, and this is your first time, you're going to click over or hover over My Notebook, and you'll see some options here. The only thing that I'm going to go through today is going to be projects, but please take a look at your favorites, especially because you can add favorites on projects and come back to them later. I have tons of projects in my favorites list that eventually I want to purchase and come back to. But inside of projects, this is where I keep track of all of the projects that I have done since I started knitting. Now, I have crocheted for much longer, but this is my first knitted project that I added to Ravelry, and then I have just been adding them since then. I'm going to say a good 99% of all the projects that I have ever made are on my Ravelry project page or my Ravelry project list. To add a new one, you're going to click the Add Project here on the left side. If you are on mobile, you're going to click on Projects, and then Add Project should be right here. And then I'm just going to stick to the desktop screen for the rest of the options, but yours should look very similar, just on a smaller screen. So you're going to select which craft you have. They offer crochet, knitting, loom knitting, machine knitting, weaving, and spinning. I only do crochet and knitting. So these are the only two options that I do, and it remembers the last one that you selected. So if you are only a knitter, you'll never have to change it. If you're only a crocheter, you only have to change it the once, but it remembers which one you have done. Here you're going to name your project, and you can name this whatever you want. I typically name mine who it's for, the pattern name, or the colorway name. Those are the three that I usually use. I'm just going to type example for today's example. And then you choose your option for the pattern. There are three options here. A pattern I used is not in Ravelry, which will ask you to put a link on the next page to the Ravelry, or not the Ravelry, the pattern link, so that people who view your project page have information on where that project comes from. Didn't use a pattern. This is if it is a self-drafted pattern or something like that and doesn't have a pattern that exists. I use this a lot for my socks because my sock patterns are, or my socks that I make right now, if they're vanilla, typically don't have a pattern because it's kind of my own recipe that I've adapted throughout the years. And then if you have a pattern on Ravelry, you'll enter the pattern name here. It uses a couple of criteria like what's in your library already. So project page, project pattern pages that already exist inside of your account, and then it will take a look at ones that match most closely or ones that you have created before, and we'll take a look at those. So if I just type in vanilla sock, and then when I'm going to click continue, it will show what they think is most relevant to what I typed. My last finished project was a vanilla DK weight sock, and so it is showing me that now because it thinks, hey, you just made one of these, maybe you're making another. And so that is the first option that is there. The next three are vanilla socks by the Crazy Sock Lady, and I have all three of these in my library, and so they are showing me ones that it may be because I have these already purchased. After that, it is showing me ones that are most likely based on the name of the pattern. They're ones that may be in my favorites, or maybe just the name is very similar, but these are not in my library. So you can select any of these. You'll just click choose this pattern beside the correct project. I'm going to click Vanilla Socks on Magic Loop as my example. So this is where you will add all of the data for your project. To get started, you have your project name here. You have who it's made for, and my computer automatically fills with my most used names. You can select anything, type in whatever you would like. It is fully free typing there. Link to Ravelry. I've never used this field and I'm not exactly sure what it is there for, but it is there. If you have a deadline for this project, you can add a finished by date. So this is very handy if you are doing test knits. You can have that date recorded there so that you can keep track of that. The size you made. This is helpful if someone else is looking at your project page and if you're looking for somebody who has a similar body type or made the same size as you, this information is very, very helpful. You can put your bust size here. You can put your foot size here. You can put how much the stitch count that you put there or the size that is written in the pattern. This is a full free writing. This is a full freestyle writing field, so you can put whatever makes sense here. Then there's the pattern name, and this is linked to the project, and you can see here on the side it says about this pattern and lets you know about how many projects have been made with that. It also shows you your most recent projects that were made with this pattern. So then you go down into the craft, which is auto pre-filled with what you selected before, and then you can select the pattern category. You can have no category if what you're making doesn't make sense for any of these, or you can select it. I usually do accessories, feet, legs, socks, and ankle, but you can choose whatever makes the most sense. This is not just for socks, so make your choices for whatever most makes sense. Tags is something that I do not use, but this is an organization option for you if you would like to use it. You can just add tags like socks, self striping, whatever you would like to use to organize this project inside of your Ravelry account. The next option is needles or hooks, depending on what your craft is, and you can add as many needles that make sense for the project. So for example, if you are on a garment, then you know that your ribbing is typically a couple sizes smaller, so you can add whatever needles that you use here because often this doesn't match the project because it's on gauge. The next information is the gauge itself. You can autofill from the pattern if your gauge matches, but you can also type in your own gauge. So if your gauge differs from what is on the project page, then you can put all of that information in here with many different options for sizing. Yarns is next, and this is where you will add the yarns that you have used. This is a database search. So for example, if I type in long dog yarn, and click the link button or the search button, it's going to show me all of the bases that this dyer has in the system. Now, this does not always work for independent dyers. It does not always work for all yarns out there, but typically it does, and you'll be able to select this. It is also something that you can type in if that particular yarn is not in the database. You can type in all of the information of the base here, so the dyer or the provider, the maker of the yarn, the base, and then if it is linked, then usually they have the colorways that are in existence for them. Sometimes if they're an independent dyer, there's no match for the colorway that you have, but you can also just type that in. So it is a typing form, but also a selection form, depending on what is best and what is needed. You can also select the closest colorway. So if that yarn is not in the system, this is helpful to know what color that yarn is. If the yarn has a dye lot, you can add that information here, just mostly for your tracking. There's also the information of how many skeins you used for the project and how many yards or grams are in that yarn. The weight is auto-filled if you link the yarn, so that is pretty cool. You can also add the purchased pricing, purchase date, all of that information in here for the colorway and the yarn that you used. I never use this section, but it can be helpful for some of those who like to organize in that way. You can also add more yarns. So as many yarns as you have in a project, you'll just keep adding them. There's also the use stash yarn. If you use the stash functionality inside of Ravelry, you can pull yarn from that stash to use in a project and it will track it, as a database. That is pretty cool. The next section is the project notes. This is super handy for those who do test knits or those who just like to write a lot of project notes for public use. This is where you can write that information. You want to make sure that you do not add any information that will give away free information for paid pattern. You want to be careful here with what you put, but information here is very important for modification. So if you make something longer or shorter or change colors or something like that, you can add all of that information in here. And then that if someone is looking at your project page, they'll know what changes you've made or what you did to modify that pattern. There's also the private notes here, which is also pretty handy if you need to make personal notes that don't need to be viewed by the public. So those would be things like if you need to write a note specific on I changed the stitch count from 22 to 25, then you can write that information in here as well. Once you have all of that information in there, you can go back up to the top and add your information based on date, happiness, that sort of stuff. So you have the status by default, it's going to be in progress, but you can also use these other tags, your happiness level with the project, your progress in percentage, your start date, which it will always highlight today's date, but you can go back if you're adding a previous project in here. And then you can add the date completed when that is ready to go. You also have the option to add photos. This can be done on a computer or on a mobile phone, and you'll just click here to choose your files or drag and drop, and then click finish with photos once they are done. Then you'll hit save changes here at the bottom, and that will create your project. So just a note, I'm going to go ahead and click out of this, but just a note, when you are on mobile, that layout looks a little bit different. So I'm going to click into my Ocean Waves blanket here just to show you that there's an edit project button. And this is kind of what that layout looks like on mobile. It has all of the same information. It's just kind of stacked on top of each other in a little bit of a different way. But all of the buttons and options are there with information. And then it's just laid out a little bit different since it's on mobile. So once you've added your project, you can track all of that information. You can change your percentages here on your main project page. You can go in and add more pictures as it gets progressed. And you can mark it as finished. So you can see here that I have whips. So these are marked as works in progress. And then these down here are my finished projects. If I need to go in and mark one as complete, I click on it, click on the status section here, mark it as finished, change the date of completion, and I usually click the happiness button because it kind of organizes everything with the top to the bottom, and then I click save changes. This one's not done, so I'm going to change it back to in progress. So now we've added all of that information. I've shown you how to add pictures, which is done the same way. You can add photos here by clicking on the project, and it will bring up that same window to add photos to it from there. You can go in here and click here to add notes or edit your notes. You can add new notes by clicking here, and it will have the date on there. Lots of information to add into the projects and organize based on your needs. The next thing I want to talk to you about is how to add your picture to a forum post. So this is more specific to the summer stock camp. However, it can be used in other make-alongs and things like that. So what you'll want to do is first you need to get to that forum. So for me, you'll click on community and go to forums. I've already added the Crazy Sock Lady, but for you, you'll need to add her. So here's the Crazy Sock Lady here. This is where I'll find the information for summer stock camp. But you can also search it. So Crazy Sock Lady, and we'll search forums. And so it's going to show me the options listed here. It's a bit confusing. I will let you know. There's a lot of information here that maybe you don't need, don't have. So the easiest way is you're going to go to groups. So you're going to go into community, you're going to go under groups. This is specifically for the Crazy Sock Lady. Then you'll search Crazy Sock Lady. And it should show up with this icon right here. You'll click on that. And then mine says lead group because I am already in the group. I've been in the group since January of 2021. You'll want to click join group, and that will add it to your community tab. So what I usually do is go to communities, go to forums, and then hers is right here because it's the first one that I've ever joined. I'm in a couple of other ones as well, but this is the first one that usually pops up. You can click on the Crazy Stock Lady podcast, and it will give you go back to that main group, and then you'll click on forum. At the moment, these are the topics that are available. You'll see the Summer Stock Camp chatter thread here, and then when Summer Stock Camp opens, you'll see an FO board. This is where you'd want to post your finished objects to be eligible for prizes, but at the moment, this is the only one that's available. So I'm going to click on it and see if I'm able to add some pictures to show you how to work on that. What's really cool here is that it brings it to the last page that you read. So the last time I looked at this, I was on page 69, but typically you're going to be opened up on the first one, which has all of the make along rules and links and all of that good stuff. But what you'll want to do is scroll all the way to the bottom, read all of the ones that you would like. If you like something, you can click on the little heart here and it will let them know that you like it. All these cool buttons that you can do. You can reply to people, chat with people, but I'm just going to show you how to add your own picture. So if you were on desktop, you're going to see this button here that says reply to thread. That's all you need to click. It'll bring you all the way down to the bottom and open up a comment. So typically when I'm adding my socks into the form as a finished object, I'll do sock number 1, and then I'll press enter, and then I'll want to add my sock. What I can do is click on this little blue square. I'm not sure what it is in light mode. We can check that. It is still a blue square, so that is good news. Get that back to dark mode. You'll click on this, and it'll say use an image from a web, use a project, that sort of stuff. I always do project and stash photo. And then it will show you your most recent projects. You can go to older or your most recent uploaded photos. You can scroll through here if you have many, or usually it's the first one. So you can click this. It'll open it up in full view so that you can make sure that that's the one you want to use. You'll click use this photo, and it'll add it in here with a little bit of extra text. Now, this is okay. This is letting them know that this is the project, this is the photo that was attached, and this is the link to the project. The cool way about doing this is that if someone likes your project that you've made, they can click on it, see your project page, and they will actually have the link to the pattern and all that information if you've added it right there and be able to make those socks as well. They'll have the yarn information, all of that will be ready to go. So if I click preview, you can see here it says sock number 1, and then it has my picture. If I click here, it's going to open up that Ravelry project page with all the information available. So then I'm going to click here to close, and then you'll post that reply. And it'll be added at the very end. So it'll be added on the last page at the very bottom. So if I were to post this, it would go right underneath this user here. That is all you have to do to reply to a thread to be added to the finished object for Summer Stock. All right, my voice is going, so I think that is where I will end this video today. But if you guys want more information, if anybody out there wants more information on how to use Ravelry, whether that be the forum posts, whether that be cues, favorites, libraries, how to search for patterns, all of that information. Oh, I forgot to show you how to do this on mobile. I'm so sorry. So on mobile, you'll want to go to menu and you'll want to go to forums. This is the exact same way I just showed you before, but if you need to go to groups first to add the Crazy Stock Ladies group, that option is right here, and you'll search that in this search box. And then you'll see that same icon. You'll land here. You'll click forum. You'll click on the forum that you would like to reply to. And then the reply button is kind of at the very bottom here. This little chat icon. That is how you'll add your reply. So you can type the same information, click the blue button to add the project. You'll do project dash photo, select, use this photo, and then post reply. So same options, just smaller screens. All right, so now, sorry about that. I forgot to do the mobile part. Now that is everything that I will go over today. Again, let me know if you have any questions about what we discussed today, or if you want me to cover something else on Ravelry, and I would be happy to record that as a bonus video in the future. All right, y'all have a great day. Bye.